Hello, tappers. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you're having a wonderful Tuesday. That may be a little indication of mine. I wanted to get started just a few minutes early. We'll let people trickle in before we actually get started. But I wanted to share a little overview of just something that has really been apparent this week. It's been in emails that I've received, just in other ways that people have reached out to talk with me, sessions that I've had, just really strong overwhelm lately. And I wanted to give you a way to look at it that might be helpful to understand. So I'm going to use this as an example. It's just an empty cup. If this is us, and when the cup is spilling out, that's overwhelm. Okay, that's we're gone. We can't handle anything more. All of our calming down techniques are useless. We're just lost. Um, this is typically how we think of ourselves being when we realize, oh, and now I'm in overwhelm, that we started out here and then just, and that's almost never the case. And this is another reason why tapping as a routine rather than as you need it can be really, really useful. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Usually we're not starting with an empty glass. You can have things that just put little drops in, like maybe you didn't get as good of sleep as you wanted to. And so you wake up a little bit tired. That's not horrible, but it takes up a little bit of space, in your tolerance. And then maybe, so because of that, you're slow getting ready. Or you're thinking about something negative that you have, going on that morning. And it's still not a whole lot, but it's taking up a little bit of space. And then maybe you have a commute and it's stressful that day, or something just doesn't quite go right. You get an argument with someone, or you're not able to eat the breakfast that you wanted, or you burn it so you don't, you went through the effort of cooking it, but you didn't get to eat it. So you're already here, by the time you start your day, right? And then if there's anything that's big, that's going to take up a large amount of space, maybe overwhelm. And we tend to have more tolerance for ourselves when there's something that's big. We can say, oh, well, of course, that would be overwhelming for anyone. But when we have all these little things that are just ticking away, chipping away at our tolerance levels, and we get that last thing, that question that someone's asked three times and you've answered them three times and they won't accept your answer, or whatever that is, that just is, and that's it. Then we really tend to judge ourselves and be really harsh and heavy. And why am I this horrible person? Why am I so bad at this? Why do I fail? And we don't consider, yeah, but that overwhelm has been building up for a while. And then also when it's here, how do you empty it? How do you get rid of what's in there so that you get to start back down here, which again, almost never happens. And a lot of that's just our culture, because we haven't been very successful at creating a routine out of stress relief. It's more damage control by the time we engage it. So, as you go throughout just life, but particularly when you're thinking about how you're treating yourself, how you're judging yourself, consider your cup, and you can just say, okay, what percentage am I at? Am I okay? I am 70% full. I can feel I don't have much to go before I'm blown out, and add that into the equation of what it is that you're trying to take on. So, okay, there's that. I just wanted to share that today. So, I do have some emails that people have sent in, and much to kind of this theme that I've been noticing just in my life and my environment this week. They're pretty heavy topics. A lot about big overwhelms. So please go ahead and feel free to comment in the chat. We're still absolutely going to address what's in there as well. If it's your first time here, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I am being a little more shiny today, and this is my own personal way of counteracting overwhelm. I like to do something that's nonsensical, that's fun and playful, and the really large earrings are for Valentine's Day. But even if while I'm doing it, it doesn't change my attitude in the moment, it still triggers me in a different way. It starts me down a different pathway. It's hard to continue to feel super heavy when you've got a rhinestone crown on your head. So even if it's not an immediate response, it still tends to help. So that's my own little quick fix. One other thing I want to offer before we jump into specifics is what if you are overwhelmed and you don't have the space to engage your calming techniques? You don't remember what they are, or you just have zero interest and ability to talk to yourself in a logical way, to be your own coach, to pull yourself back down. Particularly in being your own tapping coach, that can be really difficult. There are ways that you can engage, tapping, but say you're not even there. Um, One quick hack that I can offer you is go to YouTube and type in inspirational speeches, inspirational quotes, inspirational music. Whatever it is that you feel in the moment is going to be able to pull you in a different direction, because you don't have to necessarily solve what's in front of you. You just need to shift what is in front of you. Okay. And that right there will give you a little space of tolerance. Then you can go back to what it is that you need to solve. But if you're trying to force yourself to solve something while you're in this overreactive state, it's going to be really, really difficult. So allow your focus to shift first. And you can watch something funny. You can watch something that's deeply moving, something that you just feel understood in the space where you are right then. Whatever that looks like, look it up on some type of social media and just listen and allow yourself to shift into a different space. You can tap while you're doing that or not, but just allow yourself that little bit of time and then go back to it. Okay. Um, Maybe I'll give my little bit of a blurb about what tapping is. If you've never done tapping before, don't worry. It is an overwhelm and trauma release technique. It's highly effective. It may feel a little weird. It may look a little weird if you've never done it before, but it's very simple. So you can just follow along with me and you'll get it. If you want to know more about how it works, you can go to our channel, EFT Universe. There are a lot of videos on there that explain to you how it works. We're just going to jump into it here. Like right now, we're going to do it. You're welcome to put what you would like to tap on in the chat. If there's ever a time where you want to be anonymous, you can just simply email it to me and then I will bring it up next time. If you want clarity on something, you can reach out. I'm happy to be a support for you through this. So, and my email is amanda@eftuniverse.com. Okay. And now that's in the chat. So you have that. All right. Let's get grounded and centered in this moment in space and time, set our intention for our time together. And then I will share with you what the emails are from our community members, and we'll see how we're going to wrap that all together today. Okay. So, to pull yourself back into this present moment, just become aware of your spine. And we haven't done this one before. So, and I want you to picture what it looks like just in your mind. You can close your eyes if that makes it easier. Where are the curves in it? How are your bones? Are they kind of floating, and have that space in between them like they should? Or are they do they feel like they're kind of cramming down on each other? We're not looking for logical or exact of what's happening. What does it feel like in your body? So how is your spine? Does it feel really crooked and jagged? Does it feel really heavy, like metal? Just focus on that part of your body from the base of your skull down to the end of your tailbone. What does your spine feel like? As you're focusing on that, take a breath and breathe out. Now I want you to focus on a color, just a color that sounds pleasing. And it can be a color that would make you happy, that feels bright, that feels soothing, that feels comforting, that feels relaxing. Whatever word sounds best to you, think of the color that would associate that. And we're going to color our spines with that. And it could be you're dipping it in paint, or you're spray painting it on. You've got a paintbrush, or it's just like, digital magic. You click on it and it's that color, but we're going to incorporate that color into our spine. So see your spine turning that color. For me, it's like a deep royal blue. And immediately I'm starting to feel like, oh, my spine's turning back into like the happy bone that it is. It's straightening out. The rigid edges that I saw on it are a little bit smoother. Let's take another breath. Now go ahead and see that color just spreading through your body in whatever way makes the most sense and feels the most pleasing for you. It can be a diffusion. It can be you're wrapped in the color. It could be the light source is outside of you and shining that color on you. Just feel that gift being layered in on top of all over. Let's take a last breath together here. And out. Okay, now I'm going to put my hands over my heart and just set an intention for this time together. You're welcome to join me in that if you want. And that the time that we have here together, even though we are all over the world, having different life experiences and different time zones, and maybe struggling with different things, that we're all here for the same purpose, and that's to seek relief and insight, feel some support from a community, maybe to release something like feeling alone or feeling unheard, and maybe to get some confirmation that I matter and I'm worthy of attention and support, and maybe a little bit of discomfort and learning how to take care of myself. And whatever that is, that I am holding space for you, that the other people who are here are holding space for you, and that you get to hold as much space for yourself as you feel comfortable. And take one more breath. And let out. Okay, and if you've had your eyes closed, go ahead and open them up. Whenever we tap, we want to have our eyes open because of the way it's engaging our brain. We want our brain to have that sensory input of what our eyes are seeing. So hello, Kylie. Hi, Mama Hut. Hi, John. Oh, I love that. Thank you for your words. Oh, thank you for appreciating my glimmers. Hi, Stuart. Hi, Bonnie. Okay, worry over family matters. Thank you for that contribution. I'm going to go ahead and read to you what our community members wrote in, and we will tie these all together with what you've got on your mind as well. So the only person who I had the time to ask if it was okay to use their name is Mary. And Mary is asking to tap on physical pain. And what she's experiencing is neuropathy in her feet and legs. And as a result, she sleeps. And she says she sleeps too much because of not wanting to face life. So that is her chosen dissociation, which is a very common one, and for many reasons, right? I've known lots of people who it feels kind of like a giving up. Well, life's not over, but I'm giving up right now, and this is how I'm doing it, and trying to escape what feels inescapable. Okay, so we will definitely tap on that. I think that's very relatable. Another community member who I'm going to keep anonymous asked to tap on being overwhelmed. And this particular person was overwhelmed with a technology issue. Just nothing was resolving it, trying to connect with someone. They got disconnected. The people didn't know what to do to help them. Eventually it got solved, but their immediate response to this happening was the subconscious feeling terrified, which I found very interesting. And I'll tell you why in a second. And their self-talk was really hard to control. And their immediate steps to try and step back from this were conscious breathing, tapping on, they said soft spot. I'm not sure what soft spot means. I'm sure it's a term that's used. Maybe even Dawson uses it, and I'm just blanking on it right now. And asking, are there better first steps? So when you encounter something that has such an overwhelming response, chances are it's connected to something else in your brain and your subconscious. Having such an intense overwhelm with a technology issue. Technology issues are really irritating, and it can be something that's really important because I need this technology to work for this really important thing that I'm doing, right? But what else does it mean about that moment? So in that moment, as you're tapping, um, instead of going, oh, I'm feeling really overwhelmed about this, you can ask, why am I feeling so overwhelmed about this? What is it that I believe is going to be the outcome if this isn't immediately fixed? I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to get fired. I'm going to let people down. I'm going to look really stupid. what is it that feels so intense and so triggering, that is the response that you're receiving, because then you can support your body and your emotions in a different way if you're able to answer those questions. And we will tap on it as well. And then our last community member, who wrote in, who I will also keep anonymous, I do want to offer a trigger warning. This is about a younger person passing before their time. And this community member wrote in saying, on January 29th, my dear friend's only son, a boy of barely 13, and a friend to my 13-year-old daughter, was tragically gunned down while taking a walk on a Sunday morning in Boston. And this person was asking that we could tap on loss. And there's multiple layers to that type of loss, right? Because losing anyone is hard. But losing someone in this way, there's multiple violations here, that we don't expect young people to pass. We don't expect people to pass in that way, and then why that moment? This could have been my child. The guilt of it wasn't my child, the pain, and what do I say to my friend? How do I support? How do I approach this emotionally? Do I speak out against the anger, the injustice of this, and the person who did that? Do I feel guilty if I have compassion for the person who felt like that was what they needed to do in that moment because what they did was so awful? Um, you know, uh, it- how do I deal with my reaction to what's happened on top of what's happened? Lots of layers of overwhelm there. So, definitely things that we will tap on. I'm going to just read. I see a lot more typing, so I'm going to see what you guys have contributed, and then we'll tie them in together and get started on our first tap. Okay. Thank you, Bill. Okay, Stuart, you also need tapping with grief. Okay, with your dad just passing. I'm so sorry. We are definitely going to address grief today. Oh, Jean, that sounds like a big procedure. I completely understand why you would feel anxious over that. Okay, for resistance. Resistance in what way? In general is fine, but the more particular we can be, the more successful the tapping can be. Even if you feel resistance on multiple planes, if we're specific about one, unweaving that completely rather than kind of touching on the overall spectrum of it is still more effective than touching a little bit on a few things. Love how you guys support each other here. Overwhelm, attacks and triggers. Okay, father issues. Okay, thank you, Bill. Okay, dysfunctional relatives. Okay, so lots of things with family. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm just looking back on what has been written in. So I think with this, I'm going to tie in the just being overwhelmed and responses in the body with the family issues. And then we'll tap on grief. That'll be a really easy transition there. And then we'll go back, Mary, to physical tapping for sure. Okay. So we're going to start off on responses to family issues. And I will touch on this a little bit just to say a lot of times issues with family are tied to a survival response, particularly if you felt like the black sheep, right, of your family. Or just had dysfunction in your family that you were aware of. There was some way you had to survive that when you didn't have the ability to truly just make the decision to go and survive on your own. You had to find a way to live within the environment that you were given. So family can trigger a lot of deep-seated things for that fact alone. So go ahead and bring to mind a specific It can be instance, it can be person, but just get very clear on one thing, because we're going to break all of the neuron connections to this one thing, which is going to help everything else be reconsidered by the brain on your family, in your family. And as you focus in on this topic, this person, this event that occurred, I want you to focus in on what's happening in your body as you focus in on it. Okay. Is your heart rate increasing? Are you feeling something squeezing somewhere? Are you feeling yourself get little? Do you feel smaller? Do you feel incapable? Do you feel hopeless? Do you feel angry? Where does that live in your body? Are you noticing, does your posture change? I tend to do this. And that's what I'm feeling is this curling in right here. Kind of a need to protect my heart, but also disappointment, maybe discouragement, is where that comes into play for me. So once you have a pretty good description of what it is that you're feeling in your body, now we're going to start tapping. Even though right now, as I tune into this issue, and you can replace this issue with this person, this event, be specific to what you're focused on. As I focus on this issue, I deeply and completely accept myself. I acknowledge that I'm feeling this right now, and I'm holding space for it to be okay. I feel ready to some degree to face this, to release this, and I'm open to a different perspective. As I focus in on this family issue, I give myself permission to process any and all emotions, thoughts, desires, actions, feelings that I chose to do or that I didn't choose to do. I allow space for all of it to be processed and released. And even though this feels very alive right now in my body, it did happen a long time ago. And because it happened a long time ago, I'm open to the thought that I'm ready to let it go. Letting it go. This family event, I think about it, I almost put the crown on the spot, but it's right by it. All of these emotions, my responses, my beliefs about what it must mean about me. Permission to process. Permission to release. Permission to analyze from a space of curiosity. Permission to be completely unfiltered. Belief in this safe space to be completely unfiltered. Permission to have 100% my own slanted view. That whether I can or cannot see a bigger picture, multiple perspectives, anyone else's side, I don't care. Right now, I don't care. Right now, I am focused on my feelings, on my view, my perspective. But I wonder, why does this feel so complicated? Why do I need to give myself so much permission to release all of this? Releasing my family. I don't want to release my family. I do want to release my family. I just want my family to be who they're supposed to be for me. Whether or not my family will ever be who they're supposed to be for me, I deeply and completely accept myself. I accept if I want this. I accept if I don't want this. However I feel about my family right now, I deeply and completely accept it. But what do I do about it? Whether this happened yesterday or a long time ago or both, it's an ongoing thing. How can I be okay? How do I make this right in my own mind, in my own existence? Making it right. Making this right for me. I can't ever make it right for me. It was wrong how it happened. It's still wrong now. It will forever be wrong. No one's ever going to hear me. This is the hill that I choose to be stuck on for the rest of my life. This is the definition of how I see things and how I feel things. That doesn't seem fair. It probably isn't fair. I wonder, what is in my way of allowing myself peace? Do I allow different expectations for my family? Well, of course I do. They're my family. Family is supposed to mean something. Family should mean something. Now, I wonder if I were to remove the expectations, what would I have left? If I just had this person, no longer my family, it's not how I'm seeing them, and I really engaged my skills of looking at their personality, their tendencies, their beliefs. Would I engage with this person? Would I choose to have meals with this person? Whether or not I would choose to be around this person, I deeply and completely accept myself. Well, maybe I could choose to not be around them now. And maybe that's not a solution for me. But whether or not that's a solution for me, I'm open to exploring this a little bit further. So if it's not working for me to hold this person in my life as a family member, as the family member they are, what if I secretly reassigned them? Maybe they're my coworker, someone that if I have to be around them, I'm very professional about it. But why would I do that? Maybe I would do that because it would allow me to hold some boundaries. Maybe I would do that because it would give me permission to stop trying and to stop being hurt. Maybe I would do that because it would give me a different set of expectations to where I could unhook a little bit easier from a reaction to how they behave. And maybe family meetings or board meetings or mandatory company-wide picnics or something. I don't know that this is my exact solution, but I'm open to the idea of being creative about it. Because the reality is, the way things are right now don't work. And I want to find a solution that will work. A different solution. A solution that will work. Empowerment. Boundaries. My solution. As I ponder on this solution, I bet I'll know when I find something that I believe could work. Because inside my body will feel better. It might even feel a little bit fun. And I can release myself of any judgments of this feeling silly or crazy or like I'm being sneaky and a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Dishonoring of the person. Because the truth is, the way things are working right now do all of that. And what I'm doing is allowing myself a solution in a difficult situation. Solutions for my family. Solutions for me. And as I step into the exploration of this solution, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, take a deep breath. Okay, we're going to go right into grief. If you do not have something that you are grieving, you can choose a different emotion and tap on that and just simply switch words that I'm using to ones that fit what it is that you've got in your mind. So for those of you who would like to tap on grief, that is the word I will choose and guide with. There are a few ways you can do this. You can focus in on the person that you are grieving. You can focus in on your own body, on where you're feeling that grief. Okay. Just give you a second to gently tune into that. I'll start tapping here. This grief, this heavy grief in my body, this grief that I feel, this grief all over me. Even though right now I am overwhelmed by grieving, I deeply and completely accept myself. It's okay that I'm grieving, whether I've been grieving a short amount of time or if I've been grieving for years. I acknowledge and accept my grief. My grief holds deep meaning, and there are profound meanings in my grief. And I appreciate acknowledging these things, even though right now it's heavy. Because in my grief, I acknowledge the life that I've lost. In my grief, I acknowledge the person that's not here anymore. And I give myself permission to express this grief deeply and completely. And I offer comfort to myself with no timeline, with no pressure, with no expectations. This grief, this grief in my body, this grief for my person. As I allow myself to feel this grief, I notice where it sits in my body. And I notice the color. I notice the texture. I wonder If I were to weigh it, how heavy would it be? This grief in my body. I wonder if I were to smell it, what scent would it have? This grief in my body. I wonder if it were to have a flavor, what flavor would it have? This grief in my body. I allow this grief to process at whatever speed and whatever amount it needs. And I release any feelings of judgment, self-doubt, self-pressure, shame, guilt. Of needing to do anything different. But I wonder, is that really okay? Is it really okay to just sit in my grief this way? Isn't that damaging to my body? To sit in grief? Doesn't that create a risk that I'll become depressed? If I sit in this grief for so long, shouldn't I do my best to just get it all out and move on? Even if right now I have some of these concerns, I deeply and completely accept myself. It's okay for me to have concerns. It's okay for me to try and be mindful of boundaries on my grief. But I wonder, who have I heard talk about, oh yeah, I became chronically depressed because I expressed my grief too much? I don't think I have. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's the opposite. That it's people who haven't felt permission to express their grief freely that more have those long-term issues. So maybe it truly is okay for me to mourn and grieve as deeply, as painfully, as loudly, as messily as feels right for me. I would like to offer myself support in this so that I don't feel alone in my grief. So I wonder, what support can I give? Supporting my grief. The support I need. The support my grief needs. Support for my body. Support for my emotions. Support. As I consider what this support could look like, I bet I can come up with some things. And maybe some things are big, like I can take time off work. And maybe some things are small, like I will buy myself the softest Kleenex tissues so that as I wipe my eyes and my nose 100 times throughout the day, my skin doesn't get raw. That's offering myself support. And maybe it's allowing myself to eat out more than I normally do, or to eat different foods than I usually do. Whatever that looks like, I bet I can figure out 3 easy ways to offer myself support so that I can grieve in the way that I need to. Grieving. Grieving with support. Well, how will I know when I've found something that feels supportive? Well, it would feel supportive. So what would that feel like? If it were to be in my body, would it be in the same place as the grief and kind of maybe hug it, maybe lighten the shade of it a little bit, soften the texture of it somehow? Or would it be in other parts of my body? Just kind of lighten the load elsewhere. What does that warming, comfortable, nurturing support feel like? Support. Support for my grief. Support for my grief in my body. Nurturing. Soothing. And it's not to cancel out my grief. If it helps resolve some of it, that's okay. But the two can exist at the same time. And I give myself permission to feel both supported and nourished and soothed, as well as deeply expressing my grief. My support. My grief. I deeply and completely accept myself. Let's take a breath. I hope that's helpful. Okay, and the last few minutes, we're going to tap on physical pain in the body. I'm going to talk for just a little bit, give you a little bit of transition time before we jump into the last tap. If you feel like that was a lot for you, feel free to check out. Like, you don't have to finish the hour. You can always come back and tap on it with the recording of it. Okay, I'm never upset at you if you feel like you've gotten what you need and you need to go. I'm always supportive of what's best for you, and my heart goes with you whenever you go. So just know that. Now jumping into physical pain. Our person who wrote in, Mary, talked about neuropathy and more of a chronic issue. But if yours is more acute, like if you have an injury Perfectly fine to tap on that as well. If some of the verbiage I use doesn't fit, then just go ahead and switch that for you. But Mary also talked about how she feels like she's sleeping too much because she's just avoiding life. That's her way of escaping something that is otherwise inescapable, which I think is a really important thing to include. So I am going to add that aspect in. Okay. So go ahead and think of something physically. And if you are blessed to have a body that's just so wonderful for you, first of all, yay. You can think of something that you want to improve. Like maybe you're trying to increase your muscle mass, or your flexibility, your endurance, the quality of your sleep. You can tap for something you want rather than something you don't want. Okay. So get whatever that is in your mind and focusing in. I'm going to use the words to help for Mary. So pain, chronic, something that feels inescapable. Okay. We're going to start on that wonderful hand place. Even though right now I have this inescapable pain in my body, I deeply and completely accept myself. I do not accept myself. I cannot accept myself because I have this body that is misbehaving and I am done with it. I am tired of it. I've tried to heal it in every way possible. I'm told that what I'm dealing with is tricky, that it's long term, that it's hopeless. And I'm not done with what I want to do with my life. But my body is making it impossible to do what I want to do. And it's impossible to escape my body. So I feel stuck and I feel angry and I feel frustrated and I feel gypped. I feel victimized. I'm really disappointed. So, how could I possibly say I deeply and completely accept myself when my body is part of myself and I'm so angry at it right now? I refuse. I absolutely refuse. I will not, cannot accept that phrase. Even though right now I cannot agree that I deeply and completely accept myself. I'll do the best I can. What does that mean? What does that mean to do the best I can? Maybe it means I narrow my view. Maybe instead of looking at my body, I look at one thing. What is one thing that I can appreciate about this dumpster fire of an experience that I'm having right now? Maybe I appreciate my eyes or my hearing, the use of my hands, the use of my voice, that I can breathe on my own, that I have clear thoughts. Okay. I fine. I guess there are some things that I am grateful for, but I don't accept this situation. I feel constantly attacked by my body, and I don't have a way to escape. And the ways that I try are partially successful, but it's not the life that I want. And I am very fixated on the life that I want. My body, the life that I want, in the way, broken, damaged, hopeless. My body, my body. But I wonder, I'm so fixated at looking at it this way. Is there a different way I could look at it that might feel better? No. Mm-mm. Absolutely not. There's no different way to look at this at all. Maybe there's a different way to look at this. But I'm afraid to try looking at it differently because I'm afraid that what I'm going to be told is to accept where I am. And I don't want to accept it. I want to heal. I want to get better. Even though right now I'm afraid to feel different or to look at things differently because I think that means I'm giving up or accepting where I am. I am open to a different idea of what that means. A different idea. Well, what else could that mean? Well, I had no appreciation for my body until I thought about it at a smaller scope. And healing my body overall as one big entity is also really overwhelming and feels really impossible. So I wonder, can I apply the same principle that I did in finding gratitude and find ways to feel better, to support my body in healing, and maybe even to heal? Narrowing my scope, finding empowerment with my body. Okay, well, what would that look like? Well, I could choose one aspect to focus on. Maybe it's taking 100 steps a day. And if that's not it, maybe it's adding one vegetable to my entire meal plan a day. Just toss in a stalk of celery. Maybe that's it. Or maybe it's setting a timer for 20 minutes. And for those 20 minutes, I give myself the freedom to focus on whatever I want and to not allow any of this frustration to be a part of it. That narrative that is my life right now won't exist in those 20 minutes. And maybe I'll spend those 20 minutes shopping online for multi-million dollar houses or really expensive couture fashion or um, exploring arts and crafts that I really enjoy doing or just watching or looking up comedians that really make me laugh. Maybe I can find some boundaries that will give myself some empowerment and small steps where I could see improvement. Yeah, but that feels pointless. I mean, what are small steps going to do? I mean, that's such a small thing. How is that ever going to do anything? Well, if I did it once a day for a year, it's 365 times. That's not insignificant. And maybe it won't be as fast as I want it to be. And maybe it won't be as big of results as I wished for. But maybe it could be something. And right now, something would be nice. My body. Support for my body. Narrowing the scope of my perspective. Allowing myself boundaries. Allowing myself smaller steps. And as I do this, I allow myself the acknowledgement of any little teeny tiny bit of progress that I do find. And as I lean into this new skill that I'm going to give a shot, I'm going to give it a try. I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, let's take one more breath. I hope that you feel better. And if you came here today feeling really overwhelmed and out of sorts, please remember your measurement of overwhelm, that every little drop in here does add up, and give yourself a break when you reach that point where you're spilling over, and engage in some way that you can start to lower that. And a really good way, a little hack that I shared at the beginning, is to just go on YouTube, on any social media, and type in inspirational speeches, inspirational music, and just allow your focus to shift. You don't have to solve what's in here in order to start emptying your bucket. You just need to shift your focus. And if you can shift your focus to something that's even less stressful, can still be stressful, but just less stressful than where you were looking, then your body will respond inside chemically and allow you to start to have space. Thank you for joining me in this experience. I have you on my mind and in my heart. I hope you have a wonderful week, a better week, a happier week. Always feel free to email me with questions or thoughts. I do make a video every Friday. I tend to choose topics based off of what people email in and ask me about. So I may bring it up on a tapping session here. I may just make a video on it, depending on what I feel would offer you the best support. So take care, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Mwah.